sound effects. Oh, yes. Are we ready?
Yes.
Oh, well. Here we go.
Welcome back to Blossom Media Studio. And today is Thursday. That means that's another episode of Fireside Chat with me, Mimi Jain. And today joining me, my husband, Abhinav Jain.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, we just... Today we're going to go over the topic of just creating content on social media, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the social media platforms that we have tried out.
On the internet.
On the internet in general. As a content creator, our website actually called Create Content Easy.
That's what we're trying to do, make it easy to create content.
Yeah, and I think it's just going to be an episode about how we reflect on us trying out all this platform and how we create content and just the mental side behind it as well, because it's not as easy as how it portrays to be.
Yes, it can be difficult for sure. It can be misleading.
It's misleading, and also there are steps involved to create content. It's not just pick up the phone and then record. I mean, I know famous Gary Vee always talks about document, don't create. But even documenting, sometimes it's hard if you are not used to it, if you have not been doing it for a while or have not been polished, then...
Yeah, not everybody feels comfortable just putting themselves out there. So I know most people would rather be prepared than to do it just, ad hoc and just kind of wing it.
That's how I think all the time.
Look, more power to you. I think it's better to fail forward. I always tell people, if you're interested in creating content, making your podcast, just make an episode, get it out there, and then you'll know the whole life cycle of doing one. And then you're, in the loop if you want to stick to it, if you want to continue, or you don't, and that's okay too. But do it, try it at least. And then you'll know.
I think it's very interesting question and topic to cover, because today I had my first beta podcasting coaching session where I actually laid out the roadmap how you can create your podcast for yourself to coach someone through those steps to create their own podcast.
Okay.
And what I have realized that all the blueprints and all the things that I have put in, they are put together to make it easy for the end user, but at the same time they're not so realistic, because I already have the process done and I failed so many times. Now I figured out the best way of doing it, but I feel like it's so not real because they did not have a chance to fail, right? Like if they already have kind of a solution, a ready to go kind of mold and do it, and as I was doing it in the session, I realized it's a little bit unfair that they didn't get the chance to experience.
That's like
the
saying
falling.
Somebody that has big arms and you go and ask them, hey bro, how do I get big arms? It's like, dude, they are genetically gifted to have big arms. So even if they don't work out their arms, they're just getting yoked. Versus someone who struggled to grow their chest muscles. And then you go and ask them hey man, I'm struggling. They'll tell you every single thing that they've tried under the sun to get that hard muscle to work and to get to that result. I think that's what you're really getting at, is that
right, but then also they will tell you the most optimized way.
Sure.
They're not going to tell you they will tell you, okay, I've done this and this is not working for me specifically.
It's almost like if someone gets lucky with something, there's not much that they really have to really give you as wisdom from it, right? It's like they don't know enough. They just kind of got lucky with it. Versus someone that struggled through it, they've iterated, they've found many different paths that they took, and then they stumbled and they failed or hit blocks, right? Roadblocks, and then they can't come out of it. Now they're able to speak to you from a more informed place of having done the work. I think that's really what it is.
Yeah, and that's what I have been doing today by coaching some of the clients that asked me how they wanted to start their own podcast. And well, what do you think as someone who not only build the studio but actually struggled through to build the studio? You didn't have it handed to you okay, here's the studio, just press the button. So would you rather so if you would start over again, would you rather struggle through it all again, or would you just have a blueprint and then just do it?
I think I would have liked to have a blueprint, but also at the same time, I was trying to do a little bit more. Like I knew I could just record a podcast like on my phone, but that wasn't my goal. My goal was to have the experience where I can do it in person with another guest or up to 4 guests. You know, that was the goal. So I can have like almost an atmosphere where I can sit around, have a few people around, and we can all talk, and that could all be recorded and live streamed. So I basically created this whole like process of what I wanted out of my content creation journey, which is why I think I struggled through it, because it wasn't a clear-cut dry solution. I would say that was almost 3 years ago now, and now we have, you know, companies that have popped up, you know, we'll name drop like StreamYard or Restream, or, you know, you can get even Zoom to get to you places, right? You know, and there's definitely podcast specific companies that have come out that have tried to simplify that path for you. I think at the end of the day though, having someone that can tell you exactly what to do with the education done in a way where, you know, okay, if I don't want to go with the expensive mics, I can go with something more budgeted. If I don't want to go with an expensive camera, I can go with something more budgeted. Maybe I don't even want a camera, but maybe I should have one and then only extract the audio, because you can't go back in time. So, you know, it's better to have more content than less, because you might need it again in the future and you just don't know the needs. You know?
Yeah, no, that's true. And yeah, it was just really interesting journey for us to get to the place where we are content creation studio, where we do podcasts for ourselves and others as well, and also exploring other arenas of content creation. Which your journey of TikTok, you have been consistent, and you now TikTok finally has kicked in and picked up your content and start, you know, sharing it more and make it visible for other people. But again, would you rather do it otherwise, like not struggle through it, but have the blueprint?
I think I've known the blueprint. I just couldn't figure out. Well, here's the other thing. Somebody can give you the recipe, but that doesn't mean you're going to be good at following it. And that doesn't mean your results are going to be the same. So let's put it that way, right? Like I've known how TikTok works since the day it was launched. Like I'm very keen at figuring out a pattern. If I see, you know, it enough times, I can figure out what it is. But it's not about it's not about knowing the pattern. It's about how do I fit myself into that equation and then maximize that pattern to work in my favor. I think that still took time, and I don't think anybody can shorten that for you. That is going to come from, you know, effort and time. Like it's just how it works. But I think it's definitely wise to have a blueprint that has been tried and true and tested. But then at the end of the day, like, you know, people, like all these financial gurus, like, oh, well, I just invest in stocks. Well, which one? Damn it! Like, you know, and for how long? How much do I need? Like, there's so many other variables.
Right.
You know,
so you want to know basics, and then, and also I think the other important thing too, it's knowing your why. Like learning how to do podcasts or learning how to be a content creator on TikTok or YouTube. You have to know your end goal, because I think people that come to me, they want to create podcasts, not because they want to know all the ins and outs of podcasts, how to edit podcasts, how to build a studio, how to mix the audio. Like that's not actually their goal.
Maybe you just want to get content out there and you don't realize like the back end work, right? So that's a very good point. It's like I mean, that's what I wanted. I wanted to just be able to go live and have everything published, and then have like clips made out of all of that.
But then you became actually person who built the studio. So
yeah, I mean, that's what I realized. I realized for what I wanted at the end of the day, it was a lot more work than I initially planned. And so I just chose to readjust my expectations on what pace I thought I could get to where I want to be. And
that's awesome.
You know, I think that took some time. I mean, I've had a lot of starts and stops. Yeah.
So this week you actually released one of the episode with the Ami Kozmak.
Yeah, the AJ comedy is what
you can go and check out Abhinav's podcast about it, and it was a really good episode talking about mental health for creative people.
Yes.
Because he is a musician, he's also a comedian who is famous for doing impersonation on TikTok, but he shared, you know, behind the scenes of how he's still working through building the systems and having the basics. So, and you were able to relate to that as well.
Yeah, that was a fascinating conversation from someone, you know, who's right now on the up and coming. I think the main takeaway that I had from that discussion that really sat with me was, okay, we all have our like challenges, right? Mentally, physically, whatever it is. And then you're also, let's say, a creative person that's trying to put themselves out there. But the challenge is you still have to deal with your specific issues.
Yeah.
And you have to find a way to do that. And whatever it is, like, for example, he said, like, if you need to be on medication to make sure you're, you know, in a good headspace, then take care of that. Like, if you think meditation and exercise are good things that help you to stay in a good headspace, then do those things and then start creating your content. Like, you can't do it, you know, without getting to that sort of normalized, balanced, level-setted space. And I think we've talked about this many times, but at the same time, it's good to hear from someone else. It's like, not everybody can deal with everything on their own. So, you know, medication, there's no stigma around it, really. I mean, if there is, then you should get that out of your head. It's like, get the help you need. If you go to counseling, if you get consulting, you know, whatever it is, do that to make yourself level and balanced. And then you'll be creating from a much fuller and stable place than if you were just kind of up and down and just, you know, hoping that it would just work out. It's just very hard. And then consistency is the other thing, is that, you know, he sticks to doing it every day of the week and then taking the weekends off. Because if you don't have a balanced structure, even in that, I think any long-term strategy, especially if you're doing this for the long term, has to include balance. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. Anyone can do a sprint, but, you know, a marathon takes longer.
Yeah, I think that mindset was important for me to learn, because I'm so used to do sprints and I will just squeeze the last bit of energy out of myself to accomplish something. But then I realized that if you on the path of building something lifelong, either it's creating content or podcasts or entrepreneurship or anything that you do that you want it to be long lasting for life, it has to be sustainable.
Yeah, for sure.
And the mindset that I used to have stepping into being self-employed and do other things was like hustle, like just hustle through it and make it happen, right? Like get to the final goal. But then it's like a quick thing, you know, to accomplish.
Our minds are so smart. Like, you get to a goal and it's already on to the next thing. It's like, well, now what? You know, like, oh, cool, I made $1 million. Now what? Like, it's like, like, that's what the fast-paced mindset is, just not sustainable. You have to have the longer term and the long strategy that's going to sustain you, which has to revolve around a balanced lifestyle. Like, okay,
and
cool,
patience.
I want to be I want to be a creator. I want to put good things out there, but I also know that I have to take care of myself and I have to take care of my unique situations that are in my life, you know, and what I've been given, the responsibilities I've been tasked with, and you know, the people that I've been blessed to have around me, or whatever it is, right? Like, everyone has different situations. So don't discount those, because you can't really copy someone else's template when they don't have the same constraints potentially, right?
True, because you can easily download the PDF on how to create content, but you're not necessarily able to accomplish all those to-dos because you have a different lifestyle or different challenges.
But do the ones that speak to you, the ones that you can do. And that's sometimes, it's weird, you know, it's an interesting thing that I used to struggle with, and I guess I still do to some degree, which is that, like, when we think about taking action towards a goal, we always want to make steps that are large and let's say sufficient enough, or, you know, drive enough outcome, and only then is it worth taking that step. Versus when you realize, like, okay, if I want to walk from here to the beach, like, what am I going to do? Like, do one jump, like, you know, and get there? Or am I going to take, you know,
Uber
100 like small steps to get there? Or, like, another metaphor that hits home for me is, like, okay, you want to eat this giant meal. You know how they say, like, how do you eat an elephant? You know, you do, but I'm not talking about eating no elephants here, but just eating, you know, whatever meal you have in front of you, you can't eat the whole thing at once. You still have to put it into bite-sized chunks, chew it, and then get it into your system, right? Like, but we don't want that. You know, when we think about our goals and stuff, it's just we always have this idea that things should just, I should only be doing the actions that move the needle forward. It's like, well, what's wrong with slowly moving the needle forward versus just like revving it all the way and then like having it go back to zero?
That's me.
Revving it all the way and then going back to zero.
That's me.
I mean, you know, like, there's time and place for both of those. I think you should be
self-aware.
You should always, and then you should always know your limits. And I think the only way you know your limits is by pushing yourself to them. You should be aware. Like I used to say this to some of my friends when I was in college. It's like, it's better to go too far than not far enough. I know that can be misinterpreted, so I'll explain. You know, like whatever it is, especially if you're in an interaction, because that used to happen all the time to me in college. Like some of my friends were like, oh man, that girl was so cute, I should have said something. It's like, bro, you should have said something. You can't do anything about it now, right? So it's like, oh man, I would have looked stupid. It's okay to go too far and just make yourself look stupid and then put it out there rather than, you know, sit back and worry about like, man,
next time I'll do
next
better.
time, you know. So it's good to know your limits, you know. It's good to see where it is that you're going to be up against resistance. And I think that the gym is a good place to teach us that. Definitely teaches me that every time, like I'm not able to lift as much as I want to, or not be able to go through as many exercises as I'd like to, because, you know, mentally fighting, physically fighting, and pushes you to your resistance levels, and they're different every day.
Yeah. And I also think that you have to be self-aware. I will do the confession right now. Okay. I've realized that for many things that I have done to test out on the journey of being a full-time entrepreneur is because I wanted to see till the end. Like I want to see things through because I was more interested in the final results. Yep. And I was always questioning myself, like, I don't know why, like this thing does not bring me, you know, satisfaction if it doesn't get results fast, because I was more interested in the final results. That's why I would rather hustle it through, because I want it to be a quick and fast thing rather than enjoying the process. So now you know, growing through this pain and season of realizing I need to do something different, I realized that, well, if I'm going to choose this path, there's only one way through, is to love the journey and recognize, like, is it something for you? Like, ask yourself question, it's actually take a lifetime journey to build something. Are you up for it? Because the answer can be no, I actually don't enjoy the journey. Then maybe that's not worth it, you know, rather than thinking about final goal and push yourself but not enjoying the process. Is that?
I think another way that I'm thinking of it is like, is this a 5-year thing, or is this a 15-year thing, or is it a, you know, lifelong thing, whatever it is that you're doing? Because there is some value in short-term goals. There are certainly values in pushing yourself to get to something short-term.
Yeah, and I think I'm good at it, and I'm really good at pushing things.
I think you put things together at a moment's notice.
Right, but for the being self-employed and entrepreneurship, I think that does not fit well. Or what do you think?
I think it's dependent on the situation, right? I think generally speaking, it's good to have balance. But at the same time, if you're not able to act fast and do things that need to be done quickly,
true,
you don't have that skill set, then you better make sure you have some people around you that do have that skill set, you know? So I think it's hard to put one statement on it. If I had to, it would be the balance statement. Obviously, go slow rather than fast, so that way you can sustain it longer. You know, it's just the nature of it's. I think it's a law of the universe. Like you can only like go full speed for so long.
Yeah, that's true.
And look at machinery, look at human body, like anything, any system can only be pushed to its limits for a short duration, right? It just won't perform at peak forever. Also,
another thing that I think we discussed maybe yesterday or a couple days ago is, since you will choose the journey, maybe or maybe not, but if you do, you better have fun with it. Yeah. Why so serious about
play
things?
Man. Have some play.
We get to the, you know, when we do something, we get so serious and stiff.
I gotta get this goal. I got my goals. I have friends like this, you guys, like that are just so focused. Like, I gotta hit the gym. I'm hitting the gym in my head right now. I'm like, bro, chill out, Carson. Chill out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's my watching you on Facebook right now.
But it's just, you know what I mean? Like, it's okay to have that focus, but also don't forget that, you know, this is your life. Like, every moment is passing. Like, today is not coming back. If you didn't have fun today, even a little bit, you lost your chance of having fun today.
Yeah.
Like, you know, find something to be happy about today. As little as it could be, as big as it could be.
Yeah, well, I think happy...
You owe yourself that happiness.
Happiness can be interpreted a little different too, because some people say, well, achieving my goals is my happiness, right? So
okay, and then
I really want to make the statement that make sure you bring joy, like do things that bring you laughter and enjoyment.
I think your goals should scare the hell out of you, that I'm gonna get there. Because if it's like, oh, I'm gonna get there for sure, it's just gonna happen, it's like, and then what? Like you'll get there, and then what?
Yeah, and then
like my goals are there, but my goals are always shifting to be even bigger than they are, because I never want to get there, type of thing.
True.
I mean, that's just my way of like kind of messing with my own head, but you know, and so then for me, the mini goals, the daily micro sort of wins, like meditated today, worked out today, did, you know, all the work that I had set out to do for the most part, you know, did I laugh? Did I enjoy myself? Did I hang out with my wife? Did we, you know, outside of the business stuff, did I, you know, talk to my mom and dad? And did I, you know, make sure that how are they doing? You know, those things are important to me. Like living in the day.
You like the term turtle.
I love it. Yeah.
You're the one who always turtling,
bro. Turtle it. You know, always. You guys know that story. You know the fable that we all have heard as children. The hare and the tortoise race. Right. The rabbit goes fast and he goes to sleep, and then the turtle, slow and steady, wins the race. I don't even think it matters about winning the race so much as it like is really a good fundamental like principle, which is, if you're consistent over time, you'll still get to the destination.
Yep.
You know, and just because you're quick, I think that's a good trait to have. But maybe because he was running so fast, he got tired. I don't know, right? Like, I didn't talk to the rabbit. I just heard the story.
I really like talking to you, and I think we should release our podcast. I think there's something here for us.
Okay.
Would you join me as a co-host for my podcast?
Shit. Yeah. Am I getting committed right here, live on air
yes.
right now? Dang. Okay. Let me think about it.
All right, guys. Well, as we gonna wrap this up, this episode was different than other ones. We didn't have guests, but it was more of reflection on the things that we are learning as a couple that is doing business together, but also independently building their own personal brand and having a career, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on, but I would love to hear your feedback and put any questions that you might have in the comments below. We'll be in the work for creating our podcast, which Abhinav's gonna think about it. Yeah, and join me next Thursday for another episode of Fireside Chat, and I'll be having a guest, a LinkedIn career coach. It'll be really interesting to talk about where careers are shifting now after pandemic. So make sure you join me. Thank you so much.
Tune in next week, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And flex for all of you.